Garage door yawns open like a scream frozen mid-throat. 20 years of Dennis's life gone overnight. My son sold his 1967 Shelby GT500 for a Paris trip with his predator wife. One phone call the next morning, rough voice. I have Dennis's car. Something he hid before he died. Something that'll gut them. My name is Carol Bennett, 43-year IQ nurse. Widow, mother, and this is how my dead husband reached from the grave to save my house. Expose the con and teach Brian and Vanessa a lesson carved in chrome and blood. Stay until the last syllable. It will crawl under your skin and birth nightmares. Mug of coffee cold in my hands. Kitchen window frames the gaping wound. Garage door rolled up. Empty space bleeding darkness. Even in April sun, Dennis never left it open. 43 years of marriage, never once. But Dennis is 8 months dead. Slippers on cold concrete, grass unmowed, oil-stained black heart in the center where the Shelby sat for 2 decades. Workbench untouched tools outlined in marker like crime scene silhouettes, red toolbox sealed. Journal open to last entry 3 weeks before death. Almost done. 20 years on this beauty. Teach Carol to drive her. Retirement road trip next summer. Smell of motor oil, old leather, orange soap ghost perfume. Radio silent. Classic rock dead. BMW growls into driveway leased. Brian bragged at Christmas. 38. Shoulders hunched like a thief, hands pocketed. Vanessa steps out, hair weapon smooth. Designer sunglasses, mirrors hiding snake eyes. Nails blood red talons. She owns the driveway before her Laubauns touch it. Brian stops at garage edge. Mom, where's the car? Brian. Jaw clamps. Sold it yesterday. Needed money. Vanessa's Paris trip business connections. Words land like bullets. You what? Got $15,000. Fair for that old thing. Chest caves. Arms crossed to hide shaking. That was your father's. Dad's gone. You don't drive it. Vanessa glides up, hand on his arm possessive. Carol, it's done. Car sold. We leave tomorrow. Not discussing. Voice pleasant poison. Brian's building a life. Car was unused. Made sense. It was his father's. His father is dead. Flat. Eyes. Brian won't meet eyes. Vanessa smiles, no warmth. Send photos from Paris. Romantic, you'd love it. Cruelty casual as lipstick. Brian shifts. Need to pack. BMW backs out. Vanessa's window down. Take care, Carol. Gone. I stand in empty garage. Journal against chest. Oil stain staring like an eye. Phone 7 a.m. unknown. Mrs. Bennett? Tom Graves. Gray's classic auto. I have Dennis's car. Sit up. The Shelby. Voice gravel and grief. Your son brought it Wednesday. Come now. Dennis wanted you to know. Remember him funeral. Back row. Gray hair. Left early. Address. Industrial East Side. Jeans, sweater. Hands white on wheel. Pass hospital 40 years ICU. Parking lot full. Gray's auto clean concrete. Vintage cars gleaming like coffins. Tom waits 65. Red eyes. Handshake shaking. Dennis saved my life 25 years ago. Co-signed loan no bank would. Paid every penny. But debt deeper than money. Never told me. That's Dennis. Son said sold for $15,000. Tom sick. $180,000 museum GT500. One of 2048. Documented. Sit on curb. World tilts. Bought it from him, paid $15,000 because desperate. Paris trip. Why tell me? Dennis made me swear 2 years ago. Hidden compartment for you only. Garage white floors. Surgical lights. 3 cars under covers. Tom pulls last Shelby burgundy. Chrome fangs. Perfect. Hand on hood cool. Alive. Sit in seat leather smells home. Tom behind radio press. Pull. Panel pops. Dark space. Manila folder. Thick. Sealed envelope. Carol in Dennis's hand. Small box key. Tom leaves. Alone. Open letter to months before death. Carol of reading. I'm gone. Sorry, kept secret. Investigating Vanessa 18 months. Real name Cortland. Done this twice targets aging parents, assets. House next. Folder, photos, docs, victims. Safe deposit for 147 stocks, 1994. Check value. Tom calls if car moves. Protect yourself. Protect Brian, he's victim too. Love, Dennis. Folder wedding photos, Vanessa with Stanley Wright. Phoenix 2019. George Murphy, Tampa 2021. Marriage certs. Clippings, elderly mother drained, family business fraud. Dennis's notes, Vanessa's questions, mom's health, house value, dates, times. Final line, need proof. Brian won't believe. Finish it. Sobs rip. Tom returns silent. He protected me from grave. That's Dennis. Call Stanley, George. Office door locked. Speaker. Stanley Wright, third ring. Voice tired as ash. Wondered when this call would come. She built the cage with compliments and concern. His mother died asking for a home that no longer existed. George's shop turned into a ghost town of wrenches and regrets. Now Vanessa Cortland's real name. Linda Marsh tugs to designer suitcases through pre-dawn airport fluorescence. Boarding pass to Mexico City in one manicured hand. $12,000 cash in the other. And my son's future in her carry-on. This is the ultra-extended final revenge chapter. Carol Bennett, 43-year IQ nurse. Widow, mother stands behind a pillar with a dead man's evidence. A private detective, and a son whose heart just learned the taste of betrayal. Dennis reaches from the grave with a Shelby key, a hidden folder, and a promise. Finish what I started. Stay until the last syllable. It will crawl under your skin, nest in your marrow, and birth nightmares that smell like motor oil and Paris perfume. Stanley Wright voice cracked like dessert ground. She started small. Your mother forgot my name. Articles on dementia left on the counter like breadcrumbs. Then the best memory care facility, $20,000 a month. Sold mom's 42-year house for $280,000. 2 weeks later gone. Joint account empty. Mom died asking when she could go home. There was no home. George Murphy, 61. Voice flat as a closed shop. Met at dad's funeral. I understand grief. Married 8 months later. Sold the repair shop $195,000. 3 days after the check cleared Costa Rica. Tracked her credit cards. Money laundered. Unrecoverable. She researches victims first. Knows every asset before the first kiss. Tom Graves red-eyed. Gravel voice. Dennis came 6 months before death. Peter Coleman, ex-detective. They built the case. Dennis. Brian's too in love, he'll call me paranoid. Needed ironclad. Car was safe, Vanessa never touched the garage. Bank vault box. $4,475,000 in 1990 for tech stock gives. $342,000 today. Dennis's letter. Stay independent. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Peter Coleman coffee shop booth. Folders like autopsy reports. Vanessa's digital footprint, 3 months. Caregiver forums. Alias. How to convince resistant elderly they need help. Sunset Hills brochures. Villas in Costa Rica. $32,000 credit card debt in Brian's name designer. Michelin. Paris Hotel. Timeline : Paris. Build dream. Make Brian feel small. 2 to 3 months seed concern. Mom's tired. Forgetting. 4 to 6 months memory care pitch. 6 to 8 months cell house. $3 to okay. Vanish. Total take. $350,000 plus. Tuesday. Post Paris dinner pot roast. Childhood table. Vanessa silk. New. Expensive dictates each word. Hotel Mary stunning. Brian works so hard, little to show. House too big. Carol. Stairs. Yard manageable. We worry about you alone. Brian agrees. We. Not I. Bathroom excuse 10 minutes. Upstairs. Dennis's office. Drawers rifled. Got turned around. Too much wine. Notebook entry #1. Wednesday. Brian alone. 3p.m. File on table. Dennis's letter first. Brian colored drains. Anger. Dad hated her. Paranoid. Photos to weddings. To husbands. Call Stanley. Call George. Prove me wrong. Brian crumples numbers. Storms out. Let me be happy. Door slams like a coffin. Midnight. Brian calls. Voice wrecked. Sobbing. Called them. Everything. Same story. Asked her maiden name changed. Pushed on credit cards. Mask slipped. Packed a bag. You're weak just like Dad said. Walked out. Peter 3 a.m. Airport Marriott. $12K cash withdrawals. Mexico City 6 a.m. one way. Real name Linda Marsh wanted AZ. FL. Warrants issuing. 4 a.m. kitchen table. Fluorescent autopsy light. Brian. Red-eyed zombie. Peter lays terms. Statement on forged cards. Public. Testify. Brian looks at me. What would Dad do? Complete the case. Stop her so that no one else loses a home. Brian nods iron. Call police. Airport 5:30 a.m. Behind pillar. Coffee steam and fluorescent buzz. Asterisk Vanessa do suitcases, designer coat, sunglasses at dawn. Boarding pass like a get out of hell free card. Relaxed. Confident. Phone in hand last selfie before vanishing. Detectives flank checkpoint. Peter nods. Asterisk Brian's hand in mine. Cold, trembling, yet steady. Vanessa steps to scanner. Detective steps forward. Badge flashes like Shelby Chrome. Linda Marsh, you're under arrest. Fraud, identity theft, interstate flight. Sunglasses slip. Mask cracks. Screams echo off tile raw. Animal. Cuffs click like garage door closing. Brian whispers voice broken glass. Checkmate. Dad. Epilogue 6 months later. Shelby back in garage oil stain healed. Vanessa. Linda 15 years. 3 states. Asterisk Brian divorced. Debt free. In therapy. Sees me weekly. Asterisk Tom new classic car wing named Dennis Bennett Restoration Hall. Peter case closed. Opened bottle of 1947 bourbon with me. Asterisk stocks. $342,000 gives new roof. College fund for future grandkids. Road trip planted Sunday mornings. Brian and I in the garage. Classic rock. Orange soap. Teaching him to drive the Shelby. Dennis's journal new entry. My handwriting. He saved us from the grave. We save each other in the light. Retirement road trip starts next summer, just like you promised. She got in the security line. Pulled her luggage forward. The detectives moved. Ma'am, we need to speak with you. Vanessa turned, saw them for just a second. Her face changed. Then she smiled. Is there a problem, officers? The detective showed his badge. We have a warrant for your arrest. Linda Marsh. Vanessa's smile froze. I don't know who that is. My name is Vanessa Bennett. Ma'am, please step aside. Vanessa looked around, calculating, saw the other detective blocking the exit. She ran, dropped her luggage, kicked off her heels, ran in stockings across the polished floor. Airport security caught her before she made it 20 feet, tackled her at the departure board. She fought, kicking, screaming, "Get off me! I haven't done anything." People stopped, watched, phones out. Police handcuffed her right there on the floor, read her rights while she thrashed. A detective opened her abandoned luggage, right there at the security checkpoint. Inside the first suitcase were clothes, toiletries, normal travel items. Inside the second were stacks of cash, rubber banded, $48,000. The detective would tell us later. A passport with her photo, but different name. Linda Brennan. Documents, bank account numbers, external hard drive. The detective held up the passport. Want to explain this? Vanessa spat at him. They lifted her to her feet. She was still fighting when she saw us. Saw Brian standing 30 feet away. Me beside him. She went completely still. Then her face transformed. Pure rage. You? She lunged toward him. Police held her back. You did this. Brian flinched. You're pathetic. Vanessa screamed. Weak. Stupid. Just like the others. You really thought someone like me would want you? You're nothing. Nothing. I stepped in front of Brian. Not much, just enough. Vanessa turned on me. And you? Interfering old woman. This was mine. My score. 3 years I spent on this. You should have minded your own business and died already. Her voice echoed through the terminal. People staring. Recording. I didn't react. Just stood there. Kept my hand on Brian's arm. The police dragged her away. She was still screaming threats, her voice fading as they took her through security doors. And then she was gone. Brian stood frozen. Shake. Let's go home, I said. 2 weeks later, we were at the police station giving formal statements. Detective Ramirez explained what they'd found. Vanessa's real name was Linda Marsh. Born in Ohio, started running cons at 20. Small scale at first. Graduated to identity theft and elder fraud. Vanessa Cortland was a stolen identity. Real Vanessa Cortland died in a car accident. Linda stole her identity and used it for the last 6 years. 5 previous victims they'd found so far. 2 before Stanley, the pattern going back 8 years. Charges filed in 3 states, Arizona, Florida, and here. Identity theft, fraud, theft by deception, forgery. The prosecutor expected a plea deal, 12 to 15 years federal prison. Stanley Wright and George Murphy's cases were reopened with new evidence. They might recover some funds through civil suits. Brian's credit card debt was mostly forgiven. Fraud claims approved. 1 month later, Brian showed up at my door with 2 suitcases. Can I stay here just for a while? Of course. He took his old room. Same room from high school. Posters still on the walls. Football trophies on the shelf. Divorce was granted. Annulment actually. Marriage never legally valid. Vanessa married under a stolen identity. Brian started therapy. Twice a week. Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Some days he was okay. Made breakfast. Helped around the house. Smiled occasionally. Some days he barely spoke. Stayed in his room. Came out only for meals. I didn't push, just kept the space safe. Made his favorite foods, left lights on, kept coffee ready. Years as a nurse taught me about healing. It's not linear. It's messy. It takes time. 2 months after the airport, the prosecutor called. Vanessa took the plea deal. 12 years federal prison. I told Brian over dinner. He just nodded. Didn't say anything. That Saturday, I found him in the garage. He was sitting on Dennis's old work stool, holding the work journal, tears running down his face. I stood in the doorway, waited. I found this on the workbench. His voice was thick. Started reading. He opened to a page from years ago. Dennis's handwriting filled it. Taught Brian to change the oil today. He's 12, old enough to learn. His hands are still small, but careful. He listened to every word. So proud of him. Brian's hands shook, holding the page. Another entry from later. Brian came by to help with the engine rebuild. We worked all afternoon. Barely talked. Didn't need to. These are the days I'll remember. I barely remember this, Brian said, working on the car with him. I was so young. I sat on the workbench beside him. He loved those days. Talked about them all the time. I sold his car. Brian's voice broke. The car he spent 20 years on for $15. $0 for a trip to impress a woman who was planning to destroy our family. You didn't know. I should have known. Dad tried to warn me. Those last few months, he kept asking about Vanessa, about our plans, about money. I thought he was being controlling. He wiped his eyes. Last conversation I had with him, we argued about her. I told him to back off, to let me live my life. He died a week later. I never apologized. My throat was tight. He knew you loved him. Brian shook his head. How could he? I chose her over him. Over you. Over everything he taught me. I pulled out the letter Dennis had left in the car. The one about needing proof before telling Brian. I'd been carrying it with me, waiting for the right moment. Read this? Brian took it. Read Dennis's words about not wanting to break his heart without ironclad proof, about loving him, about Brian being a victim, too. He understood, I said. He knew Vanessa was good at what she did. He didn't blame you. Brian broke down completely. Deep sobs that shook his whole body. I held him all those years being a mother, holding my son through every pain. This one cut the deepest. We sat in the garage for a long time, surrounded by Dennis's tools, his workbench, his radio, the smell of motor oil and old leather. Eventually, Brian's tears stopped. He wiped his face with his sleeve. I wish the car was still here. His voice was raw. I learned everything about it the way Dad wanted me to. I didn't say anything, just squeezed his shoulder. He closed the journal carefully, put it back on the workbench exactly where Dennis had left it. We walked back to the house. Evening coming on, spring turning to summer. The air warm and thick. Inside, I made dinner. Brian set the table without being asked. The house felt different. Not empty anymore. Not quite whole yet either, but healing slowly. I paid off Brian's remaining debt the week after Vanessa was sentenced. $5,000. What the fraud claims didn't cover. Wrote the check and didn't mention it again. The stock certificates from Dennis gave me choices I never expected. $342,000. More money than we'd saved in our entire marriage. I thought about what to do with it. Stanley Wright. His mother dying heartbroken in a memory care facility she never needed. George Murphy. His father's shop sold. 40 years of work gone. I sent them each a check for $10,000. Attached a note for your mother's memory from someone who understands Carol Bennett for Stanley. Similar words for George. For myself, I decided to stay in the house. Maybe travel a little. Small trips, nothing fancy, stay independent like Dennis wanted. 2 months after the airport on a Saturday morning, I heard an engine rumble outside. Deep, powerful, familiar. I looked out the kitchen window. The Shelby sat in my driveway, burgundy paint gleaming in the sun. Tom Graves behind the wheel. My chest went tight. Brian was upstairs. I heard his door open. His footsteps on the stairs. He'd heard it, too. We both walked outside, stood on the front porch. Tom got out of the car, smiled when he saw our faces, bringing her home where she belongs. Brian stared at the car, couldn't move, couldn't speak. Tom walked toward us, held out the keys to me. This was never mine, Mrs. Bennett. Dennis built it for you. I tried to find words. Tom, you paid Brian $15,000. I know. Tom shook his head. But this car is worth more than money. Dennis would want you to have it. Want Brian to learn it. That's what matters. Brian's voice came out rough. I sold it. I threw it away. Tom looked at him. You were a victim, too. Your dad knew that. That's why he built the case to protect you. Tom handed me the keys. Dennis told me once that this car was never really his. It was always meant for his family, for the people he loved. He gestured to the garage. You want help backing her in? We opened the garage door together. Tom backed the Shelby into its spot, the same spot it had left months ago. The oil stain on the concrete still there. The engine shut off. Silence settled. Then the garage smelled like it should again. Motor oil. Old leather. Dennis. Tom got out. Stood looking at the car for a moment. He'd be proud of what you did, he said to me. Stopping her protecting your son. He looked at Brian, and he'd be proud you came back. That you're healing. Tom left after coffee, hugged us both. Brian and I stood in the garage after he drove away. The Shelby between us. I can't believe it's back, Brian said. Neither can I. He touched the hood, ran his hand over the smooth paint. I don't deserve this. Dennis thought you did. That's enough. 3 months later, on a Sunday morning, we started. Brian brought Dennis's work journal to the garage. I brought coffee. We opened the hood, stood looking at the engine Dennis had rebuilt piece by piece. I don't know where to start, Brian said. I opened the journal, found the page marked Teaching Brian. Dennis's handwriting clear and careful. Start with the oil I read. Check it first every time. Before you drive her, know she's ready. Brian found the dipstick, pulled it, checked the level like the journal showed. His hands were steadier now. 3 months of therapy showing. We spent the morning going through the car together, checking fluids, examining filters, testing systems, physical, methodical work, following Dennis's notes step by step. Brian's confidence grew as the hours passed. I saw Dennis in his movements, the careful attention, the gentle touch with tools. By afternoon, Brian was smiling, really smiling. I forgot how much I loved this, he said, being in the garage working with my hands. Your father loved these days with you. I remember more now. Little things. The way he'd explain everything twice to make sure I understood. The way he'd let me try even when I made mistakes. He closed the hood carefully. I'm going to take care of this car the way he wanted. We'll take care of it, I said. For months after Tom brought the car back, I decided it was time. Saturday morning, spring turning to summer. I stood in the garage with the keys in my hand. Brian came out. You ready? I think so. We got in. Brian passenger seat. Me behind the wheel. The leather seat was cool under me. The steering wheel worn where Dennis's hands had gripped it for 20 years. I adjusted the mirrors. Checked everything like the journal taught us. Started the engine. The Shelby roared to life. Deep rumble I could feel in my chest the sound of Dennis's work. His patience, his love. I backed out of the garage carefully. Brian's hand on the door handle. Nervous but trusting. Drove down Oakwood Drive. Windows down. Warm air coming through. The engine purring smooth and powerful. Brian laughed. Dad would lose his mind right now in the best way. He taught me to drive when I was 17 on a stick-shift Ford. I stalled it 6 times. He never got frustrated. This is easier. We drove with no destination. Through town, past the hospital where I'd worked, past the high school where Brian played football. Just driving. The Shelby responded perfectly. 20 years of restoration paying off in every turn, every shift, every mile. After an hour, I headed home, pulled into the driveway, backed the car into the garage. Perfect fit, like it never left. I turned off the engine, sat in the quiet after. Dad would be so proud of you, Brian said. Of us? I corrected. That evening, I made dinner. Brian came down and helped with the vegetables, chopping them the way Dennis used to. The house was quiet, but not empty. The garage full again. Dennis's tools on their pegboard, his journal on the workbench. The Shelby in its place. I looked out the window at the garage, thought about Dennis's letter. I'm still protecting you. He was. The investigation he'd built. The stocks he'd left. Tom keeping his promise. Dennis loved me enough to prepare for everything. I wasn't alone. Never was. Never would be. So that's my story. I'd love to hear what you think. Would you have been able to forgive your child for selling something that precious? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more stories like mine. True love sets up walls against the wolves, even from beyond the grave. Never let anyone make you small. Your worth isn't in what you give, but what you protect. If the widow who exposed her son's wife as a serial con artist, using her dead husband's hidden investigation got you, hit that like button and share it with someone who's been fooled by a pretty face. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what you would have done. If you were in my place, don't forget to subscribe to Never Too Old for more stories of late life triumphs and family secrets. Remember, your best chapter might be the one you're writing right now.